Matt, thanks so much for joining us today. How is retirement going for you?
Yeah, there's not much free time. Just busier than ever. But I feel like we're making progress. I feel like we're doing the right things.
Totally. And, speaking of progress, there was a recent announcement about the new HWPO training platform. Recently brought on Matt O'Keefe, brought Chief in to
Hmm.
help kind of work alongside HWPO and lead some of the charge there. Can you tell us a little bit about the platform and kind of how it came to be?
Yeah. Almost, pretty early on. I kind of dipped my toe in with doing some programming and coaching, and almost immediately I realized how much I liked it, and I was like, oh, okay, this is the path that I want to go down. And so it just kind of followed the same progressions that I've done with any avenue that I try to pursue, and it's like just constantly making it better. And it was obviously uh, a big step, making our own app, but setting us up for the future. It just opens up so many doors, so many opportunities that we are in control of. We think the user interface as it is right now is second to none. But the even better thing is that the foundation that's laid down with the app itself, it opens it up so we can do whatever we want. We can bring in other professionals to make not only our program better, but then offer better services to our athletes. So whether they're just training for health and fitness, they want to be a competitor, or if they want to do very sport specific training, the platform allows for all of it. And our goal is to be like just the one stop shop for anything training.
There are so many, fitness apps out there. When you guys sat down to sort of blueprint this thing and figure out, what it was going to look like, what were the things that you knew that you had to have in there?
We just wanted just a better user interface for the customers, for the athletes. um, but the big thing, we wanted, I'm trying to think of how to phrase this, just you never have to leave the app. So, before it was, we would put in the percentages we wanted our athletes to hit, but then they had to leave the app, open their calculator, run the percentages. And so even though they were in an app, they still had to have a notepad out to run all their numbers. Then they had to put in all that data. But now it's you never have to leave the app. On the back end, the programming, when we enter in the programming, um, the you put in all your benchmarks, all your PRs, and then not only for the weightlifting, but then for the conditioning side of things as well. So rowing paces, running paces, it's all calculated for you. So you don't need to interpolate any data. It's there for you. So exactly, you know, when we're saying, all right, you're hitting this pace, you have your times. You don't need to calculate anything yourself.
Is it? It sounds like it's one of those apps that you're like, ah, man, I wish I had this when I was an athlete, and now, so as a result, I want to turn around and make that better for the next group.
Yeah, 100%. Even something as simple as just recording your training with this app. Even the transition over, we're backfilling everything. So if you are an HWPO athlete, when you sign up for this app, we want to make sure that you're not getting double billed. So we're asking you, hey, put in your bill date and then tell us what day of training you could see up to, and then we're backfilling everything. So we're not charging for that. And this was just one of those moves that it's not beneficial for us to backfill, or to hold off on the next billing cycle, but we just want to do what's right. So it's, if you were in HWPO training, you put in your bill date, and then you will backfill all your programming, and then we'll hold off. So you're not getting billed for what you already paid for. You're not getting double billed if you're still on the old app or anything like that.
And just so, like, anyone that's unfamiliar, is there, like, what are the tiers or tracks that people can, like, check out and sign up for?
So we carried over all the tracks that we had. We had HWPO, the one we launched with. We've coined that HWPO flagship. Then
Mhm.
we've opened up HWPO 60. So it's the same flagship program, tailored down to fit inside a 60-minute window, and all the programming is done on time intervals to hold you accountable if you're training by yourself. Then we have HWPO Pro, which follows the competitive season. Programming is updated and updated live to to incorporate the open workouts, quarterfinals, semifinals, and games. And then with the launch, we added in HWPO Sweat. So that's a very minimal equipment, no no heavy barbells, no high skill gymnastics. It's just 45 minutes to an hour of interval training. That's very, very simple, basic. You're just coming in and just getting a good sweat, getting your heart rate up, and being healthy for the day, for life. And then HWPO Classic, which is just a daily workout, what we all know and love when we think of a CrossFit workout: couplets, triplets, chippers. HWPO Sweat and Classic don't follow any progressions. They're just a daily throwdown. But if you sign up for any HWPO track, you get a month free trial of HWPO Sweat. So you can try it. If you like it, you can continue on. If you don't like it, you're not going to get billed for it. And then Classic, if you buy any HWPO track, you get the Classic track free alongside of it. And that's kind of intended for if on Saturdays you're throwing down with all your buddies and you just want just a fun Metcon to hit, throw down with some friends. You have it. You have that resource.
Saturday sunset. I like that one.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned that you started doing programming and then you found out you really liked it. What was it about the coaching side of things that you think hooked you?
I think there's a couple different aspects of it. Just the programming side of it. It's just a giant problem solving session of going through and making your list of priorities of what do I want the athletes hitting, what do I think is the best programming and progressions. And then it's just a giant game of Tetris of keeping in mind all the factors that go into it. Hey, like, all right, if we have deadlifting priority, we don't want to have a pulling priority the next day. We want to have a squatting or a pushing. If it's heavy on hinging, let's have a heavy opening session. And just playing this giant game of Tetris of trying to get all these different pieces to fit in. So that was really entertaining. But then, just trying to give people, a well-rounded, thought out program that, I'm not just throwing in random things every day. I'm programming 3 months at a time and taking people from like the foundational movements all the way through. So it's not just going week by week and hitting a checklist of like, all right, we did our Olympic lifts, we did our power lifts, we did our conditioning. It's building off, every day before, every week before, and then just giving you a good, honest whack at hitting some PRs and progressing and getting fitter. And it just came from my Olympic weightlifting background. You're planning for a competition 6 months in advance and building out. There's big stages of building out a foundation and then hitting some decent numbers and then peaking for the competition. So I wanted to bring that aspect that I incorporate into my training through my whole competition career to everyone else.
Yeah, you mentioned bringing that piece from your own career, and like even then that was more of like an N=1 type scenario, and now you just mentioned like 5+ different tracks. Like, what have been some of the challenges for you? Like, have you had to reframe a little bit in terms of how you apply stuff as an athlete, or have there been some like tremendous positives and you've been able to kind of make that shift pretty quick?
In terms of the programming, there haven't really been any obstacles to overcome. The big thing is, I remember when I first launched, people were kind of skeptical on, is this really the right thing to do? And then every single person I talked to, they're like, oh yeah, that first couple weeks seemed really, really easy. But then once we started incorporating in some of the higher skill stuff, all that foundation work was then very, very clear. And, I'm just constantly breaking apart the movements in, something as simple as a ring muscle up. And people say, I want to get better at ring muscle ups. And it's like, okay, well, it's not just as simple as go and do 50 ring muscle ups every single day. It's like, it's breaking apart like, all right, what are the different bottlenecks? Is it your grip? Is it your technique? Is it your pressing? Is it just the timing of everything, and breaking those apart and attacking each piece individually. And then, weeks later, going back and retesting something and then seeing like, oh, all that stuff actually paid off. It built up to this nice apex.
Yeah. Do you feel like that gives you a better appreciation for the process now, like to some extent compared to like as an athlete? I know you went through a lot of these same like this same thoughtfulness and mindset around your training as an individual, but like kind of getting to do that for other people and seeing their development. I have to imagine that at least adds another level of enjoyment somehow.
I mean, there's a couple different aspects of that. Like whenever I'm at like a competition or an event and I'm doing, a booth appearance, I'm getting to talk to people. Anytime somebody says like, oh, I'm on day 250 and loving it, I'm like, perfect. Hey, like, what's your favorite part? What's your least favorite part? And I'm looking for that feedback. I do, uh, weekly Zoom or sorry, weekly live calls with the pro members. I do monthly calls with the flagship members, and I use those question and answer windows as as a guide for myself, because if 50 people are all asking the same question, well, that's on me. I didn't do a good enough job explaining it. So then I go back to the drawing board. All right, how can I make sure that the athletes are getting the correct information? And then on the pro track, with training a couple athletes full time here at my house, that's incredible feedback, and it's been super super cool seeing the progress made by them. Of they come to me, they've already been training for years, and then looking at like, okay, breaking it apart of, all right, what do I see as your strengths, what do I see as your weaknesses, now let's put together an attack plan. And it's incredible the trust that they put into me when they're going through these workouts to work on what I determined as their weaknesses. And yeah, they may not feel like in the moment like, all right, I'm not seeing the progress right now, but then months later, when they hit a lift, and as they drop it, they look at me kind of wide-eyed like, yo, that was good, huh? And I'm like, yes, it was. That was very good. you know so taking those one step backwards take two steps forward, but in a lot of these cases it's one step back to take five steps forward.
What is the number one, I don't want to say concern because that means that maybe you're not, addressing things, but what is the one common theme that you hear from, the everyday people that you train, and how do you help them work through that?
um the people that I'm training in person, or the people
Let's just say the people
following
that
the
you meet
program?
at a booth appearance who are just, your everyday athletes.
um I think the big one, the feedback that I'm hearing a lot, and it was very intentional, is they're just super super psyched at how much information I provide. So it's not just a spreadsheet that it's and you go through and check the boxes. Like I can write up a workout and give it to five different people, and they'll get five different results. But everything I write is very very intentional of how to approach the workout, the stimulus we're looking for, the paces, everything. And that's why, with the flagship program, I record like, I'd say on average a 15-minute video,
Mm.
walking through the whole day of training and giving an explanation of, this is why we're doing this piece. This is how I want you to approach this piece. This is the stimulus we're looking for here. This is how to modify and scale. So the information that I'm providing, and it's very intentional because I want people to get the most out of it. And if they have the information and they're not having to, if they have a better understanding of what and why they're doing it, hopefully they can execute on it a little bit better.
Mhm. And you mentioned like the process of seeing like your two athletes in house. I know Mal and Jake are there, and we've just stepped through a our first portion of the season. What's it been like? Kind of with a first full open, guiding them through that process as we kick off 2022.
You know, uh, it's been incredibly gratifying. Um, you know, taking both of them, they both have drastically different strengths and weaknesses, and programming for them, and and having that trust from them of like, hey, these are the right moves, this is how we're going to approach the season. But then also having input from them of, you know how do you want to approach the season? Do you want to try to win every stage, or do you just care about the games?
Mhm.
Like, I know my values and my priorities when I was going through the season, um, were one thing, but then that's not everyone's value. Some people want to go through and make sure to win every single stage, whereas for me, I was like, no, I only care about the games. I only care about that big competition at the very end. And so making sure that we're aligned there, but then laying down a foundation that's going to pay off for years to come. We could have very easily, when Mal first moved here, just kept doing what she was doing and, gone for that instant gratification. But instead we sat down and it was like, nope, like whatever happens this season or right now, that's fine, but let's take a step backwards. Let's rework all these different things. Let's get technique better so that, when she moved here, she was just turned 18. And so her runway for her competitive career is basically as long as she wants it to be. So let's set her up for success in the long term and not just today.
There's one thing to say that I want to be a coach, and then there's actually doing it. What did you learn about what it takes to be a good coach, and what are you learning about what it takes to be a good coach as you continue to work with high-level athletes like Mal?
I think it's just the dedication, and it's about doing what's the right thing to do and not what's the easy thing to do. So it's a huge time dedication. When I'm coaching, I'm coaching the way I was coached when I was a weightlifter. And it's, if your hands are on a barbell, you're getting critiqued on every single lift. And obviously I have other responsibilities due during the day. So I try to set up training to accommodate that. So when I'm in the gym with them for their morning session, it's usually about 3 hours and I'm sitting in the gym, eyes on them, critiquing everything, even when they're on an echo bike, there's technique critiques that are getting shouted out, rowing, Olympic lifting, power, all these different things. Just doing the right thing and not the easy thing. But then also trying, a big value for all of us was quality, not quantity. And so I'm not putting out the net and trying to cast every person to come up here. We have a great thing going right now. So it's Mal and Jake and myself every day in the gym. And that's how we're keeping it for the time being. But just trying to be very, very thoughtful. And even though like every Monday when I sit down to do their programming for the following week, making critiques and modifications from what I saw the week prior, it's a lot of time, but they put their trust in me that they're following the right things and we're accommodating the open, quarterfinals, semifinals, all these things, and making sure that we're timing it all correctly.
Oh man, I just had this picture of you with a megaphone for some reason, just shouting out stuff as they're running through intervals. I don't know why. I had an old track coach that did it, so it's like burned in my brain.
I mean, like last night was a perfect example. Like I wasn't able to be there for their second session, and I said to Jake, like, oh man, I don't like not being there. But Jake is one of our coaches, and so I'll take him a quick run through the programming. I'm like, hey, if you're seeing this, modify it to this. If you're seeing this, give this as a cue. And I was kind of saying like, oh, I don't like not being there. And he just said, he was like, hey man, it's nice every once in a while when it's just Mal and I in the gym, because then we're able to go through a workout and we're not getting critiqued. We can just focus on the effort we're putting in and just have a little bit more fun, let their hair down, have a good time together.
Yeah, totally. But with that being said, like what's your, and you don't have to get into too specifics, but what's your big takeaways from them and I guess more big picture after the 3 weeks and where they're at and how they've progressed through the 3 open tests specifically?
I mean, Jake did phenomenally well. He's moving on to the next stage. He was really happy with his results. Mal, same thing. But I was just really proud with hearing how she approached things like the open in the past, and then seeing the transition of how she attacked it this year, were very, very different. All of her open workouts have been one and done. Full training day the day prior. Most of the open workouts, she would have a full training session prior to, and then the open workout was just a Metcon that we were hitting that day. It wasn't prepped up like a competition. But then also the fact that all the workouts that came up weren't things that we're putting an emphasis on right now. So I'm really excited. Like the things that we've been seeing the progress on in the gym haven't come up. So I'm really excited as the season progresses to see her improvements.
Yeah, it's funny because I think everybody saw it in that video of you. I think it was the 22.1. The reaction when it was like, oh, that's what the score is. That's what we're dealing with right now. That's the pace we're able
Well,
to
like that workout, for example, my pep talk to her before was, don't go full speed. Go out nice, hold a nice steady pace. Let's have nice clean reps. Like we don't want to blur any lines. Let's make sure that if a video has to get submitted, that there's no doubt in anyone's mind that all your reps were perfect. And her interpretation of that is, okay, I'm going to go out at a 104 pace per round and then maintain that pace. So on my end, that's the first open workout I've ever judged for someone, I think. And then seeing her and like I'm watching my scorecard and I'm ticking off rounds, I'm like, oh my God. And this is not stuff we've been training. So she's just endless opportunity with her.
Yeah. Do you feel like that's part of and I've heard this time and time again with teenage athletes, right? Like the pitfalls of it, that they want to do too much too soon, but they have all this like this youthful enthusiasm. And sometimes the sacrifice is that they sacrifice the long term for the immediate. And do you feel like I know we've talked about it before recently, the maturity of Mal just as a human, but do you still feel like you're having to like pull the reins back a little bit, like pump the brakes?
That's a huge role for me, is just pulling on the reins. And I mean, that's where you want to be as a coach. You never want to have to incentivize your athlete to do a workout or push the pace or give full effort. And so with her, that was a big thing, is pulling way back on the volume and convincing her like, nope, this is good. Like this is what you should be doing. And it was a discussion that we had. We just had a very blunt conversation when she first moved up here, and I was like, all right, what are your goals? And I gave her a list of things as simple as how do you what are your goals for your CrossFit career? But then other things is, how do you want to be seen in the public eye? How do you want to be seen from the commentator's perspective? How do you just anything and everything that goes into it? And one of the things was, are you more concerned about success right now, or do you want success and longevity? And I was happy that she chose correctly, and she realizes her age and her skill level and what that means for her future. And so setting things up now that are going to benefit her in 10 years.
You meet an 18-year-old kid, and I think about myself when I was 18 years old, and I don't think Dunderhead is that definitely does it. Like, I can't say that enough.
Yeah.
Like, did not have my stuff together at 18, and I'm amazed how well
of course not.
Mal seems to have her stuff together. When it comes to what's between the ears there, what excites you about her potential?
Man, I don't even know where to start on that one. Just her willingness to do things the correct way. She is so laser focused. There's no other priorities in her day to day. It's training and competing is the only thing on her mind. And there hasn't been a single time where I'm having to dangle a carrot at the end of the stick to like, hey, come on, push the pace here. It's always having to pull on the reins, and then even when I'm doing stuff that isn't the fun stuff, isn't the sexy stuff, but I'm telling you, like, this will pay off. Trust me. The trust is endless there. Even through the open, some of the workouts, she's like, hey, should I retest this? And I'm like, nope, you're good. Like, even if it means, winning the open, not winning the open, like that's not the priority. We just want to be, have her ranked high enough that, she gets top pick of what sanctional she goes to. And that's about it.
Yeah. And it looks like she's in a great spot, without knowing what the third week is. I'm curious, like, what did you think of the 3 open workouts? What was your evaluation of these tests? Because it seems like there was a shift this year a little bit into some more accessible tests, for the 3 weeks. And I'm just kind of curious, like I'm guessing you didn't do them, but maybe if you dabbled a little bit, like what your thoughts were on the test.
No, I dabbled.
Okay, all right.
No, I thought they were fantastic. And the open is supposed to be all inclusive. Everyone can partake. And so I like that they separated it into open and quarterfinals, so the open is meant to be for everyone. Every gym goer can throw down. It's community based, and we got to experience that. We did one open workout here at the house, but then the other two we went to a local affiliate, and it was so refreshing seeing that community. It like when Mal and Jake went and did the open workouts at the affiliate, it was like an open announcement. There were 100 people screaming, the music's bumping, everyone's hooting and hollering for Mal and Jake. It was very, very refreshing. Shit, I lost track. What was
I
the
was gonna say,
question?
but like just the individual tests themselves, like if you.
Oh,
since you
yeah.
dabbled,
Sorry. Of course. No, I thought they were phenomenal, and I like the workouts that they have some higher skill stuff. So like this last one had bar muscle ups in it. So the people that don't have a bar muscle up, or they're attempting their first bar muscle up, they have an opportunity, but the workout's not just stop dead in its tracks
Mhm.
because they're working on their first one, or they don't have it. They still have a full workout leading up to it. I thought they were phenomenal workouts. They were a ton of fun to watch. There was spots that obviously the people that are the fittest in the world do well, and their scores reflect that. But then the fact that anyone and everyone can do the workouts, it was great. And then there's going to be the next stage, the quarterfinals, that I'm assuming they're going to be higher skill. They're going to incorporate more equipment, and more specific equipment, or heavier weights. So there's still that stage that people can show off and test their fitness at a higher level. But the three workouts that came out, you look at the names on the leaderboard, the fit people that you see at the games every year, they're up at the top like they should be. But then I think the workouts were phenomenal.
Yeah. Did you give Jake the business on any of those? Did you kind of, give him a little, hey,
No, Jake is very fit right now.
it's very fit. Yeah.
So he smashed all of them.
Matt, I'm sure that there was somebody in your past, a coach who was really influential on you, and maybe you've pulled from that person's MO and applied it to what you're doing. Who was that person for you, and what did you learn that you are applying right now?
I can't narrow it down to just one person, and it's not even just coaches.
Okay.
Whenever people, like, a very common question is, who is your role model or anything like that, and when I look at that, there's not one person that I'm trying to replicate. I've had the opportunity to work with a laundry list of coaches, and the situation is same with most of them. For every 10 things that they tell me, I'm like, all right, there's 5 that I'm like, nope, I don't like that. It doesn't apply to me. I'm just going to put that to the side. There's 3 that I'm like, okay, I'll incorporate that here or there. But then there's 1 or 2 things that I'm like, that I'm going to take, and I'm going to run with it forever. And that's not even just coaches, just people in my everyday life. You look at someone, and we all know that person that you see their personal relationship, and you're like, that I want, what is it about that is so desirable, and how can I incorporate that into my life? And then you see someone else's work life that you're like, man, they crush it at their job. What is it? I want that personal quality and incorporate it into my life. So I've had the opportunity to work with so many coaches, and I'm taking little pieces here and there from every single one of them, and trying to have just a nice, well-rounded summation. But like, when I did weightlifting, I was younger, and I had a coach that we locked horns from time to time, because I always wanted more and more and more, and he did a phenomenal job of pulling on the reins and telling me, nope, more is not better. We're focusing on quality here. And he's like, don't worry about those other kids. They're a flash in the pan. They're not putting down the right foundation. And then, 5 years, 10 years later, I'm seeing where I'm at with my weightlifting career and realizing, oh, that foundation was so important. Resisting that urge to take that instant gratification and going for a heavy lift every single day is not the right answer.
Mhm.
So, incorporating that in with Mal, she's so young and she had so much foundational work to do. But trying to set her up for success, whether it's by the end of this season or, 2032, that's all being taken into factor.
Mhm. I love seeing like the life cycles of people's relationships, whether it's business, friendship, and how they can constantly find ways back to become intertwined, and I think that's greatly exemplified with you and Matt O'Keefe. O'Keefe, one of the first guys to really kind of reach out and with Redline gear and sponsoring and seeing you as an athlete and putting a lot of faith behind that and having that come full circle and being able to work together on HWPO. Like, is that like a pinch me moment for you? Is that like
It's
man, like is that like a cool revelation moment for you and all of that?
it's incredibly gratifying. I always say don't judge somebody by how many friends they have, judge somebody by how many friends they've had for a long time.
Mm,
And, I take great pride in the sense that O'Keefe was on my coach's band through my whole career. Every games, he was the one in the warm up area with me. And then, um, you know, uh, even more proud moment is the picture that I took after every win that I had at the games. We have the same picture. It's Sammy on my left side, O'Keefe on my right side, gold medal around my neck, and the three of us are holding the check because it was a team effort to get there.
mm,
And it's the exact same right now. Like Sammy has been working the craziest hours. Sammy has a very, very significant role with HWPO. And then, we put the bug in O'Keefe's ear a while ago of like, yo, you tell me what it's going to take for you to justify quitting that job and coming to work with us full time.
mm.
Um, and so, it's the exact same team, exact same goal, different venue. And, I have the team around me that I love and trust. And I wouldn't want to take on this endeavor with anyone else.
Matt, you've been involved in the sport when it was on in its ascent, and then kind of at its pinnacle. You were there for a couple of years where it was, after everything that happened and it was restructured, and now you're seeing it from a different perspective. What is your take on where the sport is right now as it moves into, I guess it's past its second infancy?
Um, I've for a little while I kind of pulled away because I didn't have any involvement.
Mhm.
So seeing what's going on behind the curtains or how things are structured, but it's been really great seeing some athletes stepping up and taking the initiative to make sure that the sport has a future even after those athletes are gone. So like Brent Fikowski is taking on a huge role
Mhm.
with making sure that the sport is set up professionally, correctly, um, with the best intent for the athlete in mind. So there's that side of it, and hoping that things kind of find their cadence, because I'm pretty sure every single year that I competed, there was something changed, whether it was the scoring system, the qualifying procedures, whatever it was. So hopefully, it just sets it up for the athletes moving forward that when they sign up to say, I want to compete at the games, they know that process. They know the tasks that they need to accomplish, what they need to overcome, everything, to set it up for the opportunity of athletes to treat this as a full-time professional sport, because there's a lot of people making their careers out of this. They count on this sport as their livelihood. So making sure that that's there for the next generation coming up.
Mhm. I it's always interesting to prognosticate a little bit, but I'm curious because I do think platforms like HWPO and things that get people more involved with training ultimately filter back to just getting excitement and people invested in the sport. I'm curious, do you think 500,000 in the open is an attainable goal? We've heard that thrown out a ton, and I'm always curious to see where people see the trajectory is. And we got close before, and I'm curious if being out in the community now, you still see the seeds of of what was a really blossoming sport back in like 2017, 2018?
Yeah, I think 500,000 is very obtainable. You know, I think at its peak, the Open had, what was it, 428,000, or
Yeah.
over 400,000 people. So, you know, it's been seen that, all right, we're right there, we're right on the cusp. So I don't see any reason why that shouldn't be obtainable. I would love to see it at that point. And you know, it all comes back to the community of, you know, that it's set up correctly. And I think it's not just one single ad campaign that will do it. You know, 2 weeks before the Open, promoting the hell out of it. It's going to come down to a track record and a trust that, all right, if people are spending their hard-earned money to sign up for something like this, that they're going to feel good at the end of it, that they're going to get workouts that everyone, it's all inclusive, that for the affiliates, if an affiliate has 100 people going through it, the workout needs to be approachable and be able to set up to run heat times, and that there's no equipment shortage. So I don't think it comes down to one single ad campaign, but you know, from what I've seen from this Open, if it's like this every year, it's the sky's the limit.
Matt, the final thing I wanted to ask you, and it's actually one of the things that, other than what you've been able to accomplish on the competition floor, what I admire about you the most is that you were able to walk away and not miss it. Why do you think that you were able to say, I'm done, and then not get pulled back into it in some way, shape, or form?
Considering we just saw Brady
leave
and
leave
unretire.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, very, very rarely do I make a decision based off emotion. Years ago, you know, I saw the consequences of that. And so, you know, it's just getting taught life lessons, going through some really bad life experiences, and then letting that shape you moving forward. And so, you know, when I was in my competition career, that's what my life revolved around. That's what I dedicated everything towards. And then once the decision was made, that I wanted to step away from it, it wasn't just the day after the games, I was like, I think I'm done. It was the whole season leading in. I was like, all right, this is my last one. And that's why I never committed to a season when I was in the thick of it, because, you know, leading into the games, you're tired, you're banged up, you're just ready for a break. And I never wanted to make that decision. So every year after the games, when the mic gets put in your face and they're like, all right, like, congrats on the games, what are we going to see you again next season? And I think maybe in 2016, I was full of piss and vinegar and was like, no, I'm like, training starts tomorrow. After that, every year I would get asked, like, even through the season, hey, you doing next year? And I'd be like, I don't know. Like, as of right now, my mind is saying yes. But I never wanted to make that decision when there was high emotional costs in there. And so, you know, the whole 2020 season, I knew, like, yep, this is my last year. So I'm going to give it everything. And I never wanted to sign up for a multiple year commitment, because then it's very daunting and it's hard to give your full effort today, knowing that there's 400 more days like it. I took training one day at a time of, yeah, I'm finished my day of training. Yeah, I might see you tomorrow. We'll see how I feel when I wake up. Yeah. Yeah, you know, so once I decided I was done, that was it. And I made sure to have projects ready to go, because I know I don't do well with idle hands. If I have a day off, it's a sad day. And so as I was putting plans together for retirement, it was like, all right, what can I do? What can I put in place to make sure that I'm busy as hell? And, you know, I have that daily gratification of working hard. And so, you know, there's still a bunch of pokers in the fire. Right now, launching the HWPO training app is the number one priority. But, you know, there's always other projects going on, and there's there very, very rarely a day off.
And I guess that kind of touches in my last question. What's on the docket for you guys in the coming months? Because I know you've been out at events, and you know, there was the Arnold this last weekend. I saw you teaching Jujamufu how to do a burpee, and you know, got to do an HWPO workout at Rogue Invitational. Is there any plans for like meetups, meet and greet, stuff like that for people to come hang out?
Yeah, I know. I know our calendar for this next year is wild. We're going to be at a lot of different sanctionals. You know, HWPO is programming some events, and then, you know, just full-time coaching. That's around the clock dedication. But then, you know, also, you know, trying to build up podium nutrition. Yeah, it's full time, and we have plans at being at a lot of different sanctionals. So in what capacity, whether that's programming the competition, just doing meet and greets, or, you know, running community workouts, you know, none of them are off the table.
Cool.
Awesome. Matt, listen, thank you so much for taking the time to do this. I know you're super busy. Best of luck with HWPO. And if people want to find the app, what's the best way for them to do that?
You can go to in the App Store. We have Apple and Android app, and you can go to hwpotraining.com to sign up and get going.
Great.
Sick.
Well, as everything else you do, I'm sure it's going to be top notch, and look forward to checking that out, man. Thank you so much for doing this.
Awesome. Thank you guys for having me.